The hospital lights were blinding, and the smell of antiseptic filled the air. My hands trembled as I typed the message into our family group chat. "Hey, I've just been discharged. Can someone pick me up from the ER?" I hit send and stared at the screen, waiting for those little dots to appear. A reply, a sign that someone cared. Minutes passed. My chest tightened. Then finally my phone buzzed. It was my sister. But instead of "I'm on my way" or even "Are you okay?" her message read, "Can't. Busy with friends. Maybe call an Uber." I just stared at the words. My mind went blank for a moment. This wasn't just about a ride. It was about the fact that I had just gone through a bad accident, and the one person I thought would come didn't even hesitate to turn me down. I limped out of the hospital doors, the cold night air biting my skin. Cars passed by, their headlights blurring as I tried not to cry. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, like the messages in it were weighing me down. I ordered a ride, each minute of waiting stretching into hours in my mind. The driver asked if I was okay. I just said, "Yeah, long day." But deep inside, it wasn't the accident that hurt the most. It was the feeling of being abandoned by my own family. That short ride home felt like the longest journey of my life, not because of the miles, but because of what I realized along the way. Sometimes the people you expect to be there just aren't. The cold hospital bed felt harder than stone, and every muscle in my body ached from the accident. My phone was in my hand, and with shaky fingers I typed, "I'm okay now, but I need a ride from the ER." I sent it to my family group chat, knowing someone would rush to get me. That's what family does, right? The screen stayed still. No reply. I kept glancing at it, convinced I'd missed a notification. Minutes ticked by. My heart beat faster, but not because of my injuries. It was because no one was answering. That silence was louder than the beeping machines around me. I thought maybe they were busy, maybe they hadn't seen it. But when my sister finally replied, it wasn't what I expected. "Sorry, can't come. I'm out with friends." That was it. "No, are you okay?" "No, do you need anything?" Just a flat refusal, as if picking me up was too small to matter. I didn't know if I was angry or just hurt, but in that moment, it felt like I didn't matter enough to be someone's priority. I stepped outside the hospital, the night air cutting through me. My legs were weak, my body sore, but the heaviness in my chest was worse. I called for a ride, watching strangers come and go, each one looking like they had someone waiting for them. My ride came, and I climbed in quietly. The accident had left bruises on my body, but my family's silence had left something deeper, a bruise on my heart. The smell of disinfectant filled the air, and the steady beep of the monitor was the only sound keeping me company. My phone screen glowed in my hand as I typed one simple message. "Can someone pick me up from the ER? I'm fine now." My fingers trembled, but I wasn't scared of the pain. I was sure my family would be here soon. That's what they're supposed to do, right? The notification finally popped up. My heart jumped, expecting concern or reassurance. But instead, my sister wrote, "Why don't you just take a cab?" I read it twice, trying to process the coldness in her words. "No, how are you?" "No, what happened?" Just a quick brush off, like I was asking for something ridiculous. I sat there, stunned. A cab? After everything I'd just been through, the crash, the hospital, the fear, I thought a family member's face would be the first thing I saw when I left the ER. I thought they'd be relieved I was alive. Instead, it felt like I was being told my presence wasn't worth the drive. Eventually, I did call a cab. I sat in the back seat, my hospital wristband still on, watching the city lights blur past. I didn't say a word to the driver. I couldn't. My mind replayed her text over and over. The accident had shaken me, but this moment, realizing that when I needed her most, my sister chose not to be there, left a scar I wasn't sure would heal. The hospital doors slid open, and a gust of cool evening air hit my face. I stepped outside slowly, still limping, clutching the small plastic bag that held my x-rays and a few painkillers. The sky was already turning dark, and the city felt unusually loud. My phone was still silent, no calls, no texts from my family. It was like they had erased me from their thoughts the moment I needed them most. I stood near the taxi stand, but every driver shook their head when I asked if they could take payment later. My wallet was at home, and the little cash I had was barely enough for a bus ticket. I thought about asking a friend, but most of them lived too far, and I didn't want to sound desperate. The ache in my ankle grew sharper with each step, making even walking across the street feel like a mountain climb. That's when an older woman in a long coat stopped beside me. She noticed my limp and asked if I was okay. I told her I had just been discharged from the ER after a car accident and was trying to get home. She looked at me for a moment, then reached into her bag and handed me enough cash for a taxi. "Get home safe," she said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As the taxi drove away, I realized that sometimes kindness doesn't come from the people you expect. That stranger, who didn't even know my name, had shown me more care in 5 minutes than my own family had the entire day. The rain was pouring so hard it felt like the sky itself was breaking apart. I stood under the small hospital roof, shivering, clutching the discharge papers in one hand and my phone in the other. My ankles still throbbed from the accident, but the real pain came from the fact that no one in my family had shown up. I had texted, called, begged, and yet here I was completely alone. A taxi finally stopped. I climbed in, my clothes damp, my heart heavier than the weight of the seatbelt across my chest. The driver didn't ask many questions. He just turned on the wipers, and the quiet hum of the engine filled the space where my thoughts swirled. I kept replaying my sister's short, cold message in my head. "I'm busy." Busy doing what? Busy enough to leave me stranded after a car accident. When we reached my street, the house lights were on. I stepped inside, half hoping someone would ask if I was okay. But my sister barely looked up from her phone. The room smelled of fresh coffee. Laughter from the TV filled the air, and it was like my accident was just a small inconvenience in their day. I went to my room, shut the door, and sat on the edge of my bed. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would remember this moment, not out of anger, but as a reminder that sometimes you are truly on your own. And maybe that's when you start learning who really cares.